All right, students, today we're going to be covering blockchain. Now, blockchain is one of the most overhyped and misunderstood technologies of the last decade. Now, some people talk about it like it will replace everything. Others think it's all a real big scam. Now, the truth is more useful than both extremes. Blockchain is a database design and trust system built for situations where multiple parties need to share data but don't fully trust each other. So if you remember one line from today's lecture, remember this. Blockchain is about shared trust and shared records without needing a single central owner. That's the basis of the entire thing. Everything else, cryptocurrency, NFTs, buzzwords, are just applications layered on top of that basic idea of blockchain is about shared trust, shared records, without needing a single central owner. Now, let's start with blockchain, start with the problem blockchain was built to solve. Most normal businesses, excuse me, most normal business systems use centralized databases, which is a bank has a database of transactions, a hospital, a database of patient records. A company has a database for payroll, inventory, and even customer info. Now, centralized systems work well when there is one authority. You trust that authority, and you accept that authority controls the rules. But what if the data needs to be shared across organizations? I have a couple examples of like a manufacturer, a shipping company, customs, and a retailer all need to see the same shipping record. What if multiple hospitals and insurances need to coordinate claims and coverages? A university, an employer, and a license board need to validate some credentials. Or a group of suppliers need to confirm provenance of a product, either be food, medicine, or some luxury goods. In these cases, you run into the same issue. Everyone wants transparency, nobody wants to surrender their control, and nobody wants to rely on trust us as the security model. Blockchain offers a different trust model. It's shared records, verifiable histories, tamper resistance, which is a big one, and a distributed control. Now, what blockchain actually is, in just plain language, blockchain is a ledger. It's a list of events, transactions, who did what, when, where, and why. It's made up of blocks. Each block contains a batch of transactions. Those are then linked by cryptography. Each block references the previous one using a hash. Now, replicated across many computers, the same ledger exists in many places, and it's updated by consensus rules. The network agrees what gets added next. And we have side of blockchain, we have blocks and hashes. A hash is basically a digital fingerprint. If you change the data even slightly, the hash itself changes. So each block contains a transaction data, a hash of that data, and the previous block's hash. This chaining is what creates a tamper-proof evidence. If you edit an old block, its hash changes. That breaks the chain. Everyone can see it doesn't match the ledger they have. That's why people say blockchains are immutable. But really more accurate, they're tamper resistant because changing history is hard and very often very obvious. And this is all done through decentralization, and that distributed actually matters. Now, in a normal database, one organization owns the server. They control the access to that server. They can change the records at will, however they see fit. They can hide the records, and they can decide what is truth is. In blockchain, many participants have copies of the ledger. Updates require agreement by the network itself, and records are transparent to authorized participants, depending on the design. Now, that design is useful when the problem is trust across organizations, but it also introduces a lot of friction. We get a lot of slower performance, we get more complexity, we get governance headaches, who gets to vote on what changes and when, and we have integration challenges with existing systems. So blockchain is not better per se, it's just different. And it's only worth it when the trust problem is the real central piece. Now, we have public versus private versus permissioned blockchains. Not all blockchains are like Bitcoin. Public blockchains, anyone can join, anyone can validate, they're fully open networks, and these come in examples like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Now, there's some pros here, which means they're the strongest decentralization, the most amount of people looking at the truth. We have a very, very high transparency in these. Now, the cons, they are very slow, extraordinarily expensive, and they are public by default. You can't hide them. They are typically a very poor fit for private business data. You don't want your data shared out to the wide public without any control over it. Now, we have private blockchains as well. These are owned by one organization, controlled participation with inside the organization. Now the pros from here, they are very fast, they are controlled. The cons, if one org controls it, you lose that trust benefit. At that point, you should just ask yourself, why not just use a normal database? And then we have permissioned or consortium blockchains. These are pretty common in business models. They are several trusted organizations participate, membership into the organization is controlled, rules are agreed upon through all members. Now there are pros here because it's better fit for business collaborations. There's better privacy and better speed than the public. But the cons here, it requires governance agreements and enforcement problems typically arise between each of the businesses saying they have more or less authority than they do. Now in the workplace, most serious blockchains use is permissioned consortium, not public. Again, mostly because you don't really want your public data shared out or private data shared out publicly. Now, consensus is how the network agrees. This is the part people tend to overcomplicate. There's a consensus mechanisms, and they are the rule book for who gets to add the next block, how the network confirms it's valid, and how the network resists fraud. There's a proof of work, or POW. It's used by things like Bitcoin. Mining solves computational puzzles. The pros here, it's very secure. The cons, it's very energy intensive, and it's also slow, and it's also not business friendly. And then there's a POS, a proof of stake. These are used by a lot of the many modern chains. Validators stake value. Bad behavior gets punished immediately. The pros here, it's less energy. It's typically faster than the proof of work. The cons, we have governance issues again, and incentives can get pretty complex. Then we have the practical Byzantine fault tolerance, PBFT, and related, which is common in permissioned networks. Now, these are known validators that we vote agree. The pros here on these are the fast, efficient for business. The cons, they require controlled membership and governance. The workplace takeaway for all this type of blockchain, its consensus design is a business decision. It really changes based on cost, based on speed, and based on trust, and what your organization really needs. Now we have smart contracts, which are immediate concepts that matter here. Smart contracts are basically code that execute automatically when conditions are met. In our smart contracts, a couple examples, we have when a shipment arrives and temperature stays in range, the release payment gets sent out immediately once that data is transferred over. Or when a credential is verified, you immediately get grant access to that zone or platform. Or when a part passes inspection, an updated inventory automatically triggers the order and sends it out. These are all smart contract pieces. They're useful because they reduce a lot of the manual reconciliations. They really get rid of our delays and disputes about what happened, and there's a lot less administrative overhead. But inside smart contracts, we also create a few risks. If the contract logic is wrong, the system can execute wrong outcomes automatically. Example of this, I know when I was in the military, we had a similar smart thing. We put in what we need. The entry data was one digit off, and instead of getting a bunch of M16 ammunition, we got a ship's anchor. Just by one digit off, the system sent it out all automatically. So bugs can become pretty expensive very quickly, and legal responsibility still exists even if the code did it. So just because you made a mistake over here and ordered a ship anchor for $1 million instead of $10,000 worth of ammunition, you're getting the $1 million ship anchor. Now, in business settings, the best smart contracts are very simple, they are very auditable, and they are paired with governance and dispute resolution processes. Now, when we use this stuff and where blockchain is actually used at work and in real applications, there's a practical world here. So let's talk about that practical world. What industries use blockchain and why? The first is supply chain traceability. This is most common and a useful example for how we use blockchain. The problems, we have counterfeit goods, we have unclear provenances, we have fraud in records, and limited visibility across partners. So blockchain can actually track the origin of a project, its materials that's coming in, the custody transfer, the certification events, and the temperature logs paired with a bunch of Internet of Things sensors. So in use cases, we have pharmaceuticals is a huge one that gets rid of our anti-counterfeit, or makes anti-counterfeit pharmaceuticals go away. We have our food supply, so we get contamination, that gives us contamination tracing. Luxury goods, authenticity, You know that the coach purse coming from the coach purse factory was created with the materials from a specific field or whatever, shipped through a specific train into a specific store, all done automatically. And aerospace parts, and those are done pretty much because of compliance and traceability and the need of precision. Now, a very important note about blockchain is it does not guarantee the truth of inputs. If someone lies when entering the data, blockchain will preserve that lie perfectly. So you often have to pair your blockchain with LOT sensors, that's Internet of Things, trusted audits, inspections, and verified identity of participants. And you do that with you do that identity with credentials. Now the problem with that is verifying identity across systems is pretty expensive and a very, very vulnerable space. Credentials can be forged and are very hard to validate. Now, in use cases here on credentialing, we have academic transcripts and credentials, easy to forge. We have professional licensing, again, easy to fake, employee training certificates, digital identity verifications. We use identity and credentialing in all of those, but if you don't have them encrypted and backed up and a solid truth, they can easily be faked. So blockchain for these can provide verifiable credentials, tamper resistance proof, and a lot of faster verification across organizations. So if you're a plumber in Arizona and want to come to Oklahoma, your certifications or licensing portals are probably encrypted through a blockchain system so they can come through the different states and be reasonably suspected to be true. Then we have financial settlements and reconciliations. The problems with this is transactions across banks and institutions require a lot of reconciliations. We have delays, errors, and immediate add costs that happen. So blockchain, if we go after those issues, can give us faster settlements, reduce reconciliation steps, and shared transaction histories. But this also requires very heavy compliance with our regulations and our governance, and that's getting into the state, federal, FDIC type stuff. So if you start encrypting your financial settlements in blockchain, you get into a whole very weird environment. And we like blockchain in healthcare and data sharing. It's limited at this point, but it is very, very promising because in healthcare we have a problem of fragmented records across providers. We have consent and access management and audit trails for who accessed what of a patient. So, if you get admitted in urgent care and transferred to the ER, then transferred to your regular doctor, we could blockchain and encrypt all that data so everybody has access to it, protecting you, getting you better health care fast. But then we have some problems. Blockchain will give us the audit logs, the permission tracking, and the data integrity verification so we know it's true. But usually the data itself is not going to be stored on the chain. The chain stores pointers, hashes, and access logs because healthcare data is too large and too sensitive for direct on-chain storage. So you're really encrypting a pointer instead of the actual data inside of healthcare. And one of the biggest pieces I think blockchain would actually be useful is governance and compliance records. We have land titles, we have procurement transparencies, we have audit records and compliance trails, and we have public integrity records like voting records. Again, the big hardest part of this is governance is the hard. Getting all the different bureaucrats to align to get compliance in place and governance in place would be very, very difficult. Now, when blockchain is wrong, when blockchain is the wrong tool is very, very important as well. Because you hear these things and you think, I can use this crap everywhere. It's the most important thing that ever came out. Might as well tie it into all my systems. Blockchain can be the wrong tool. And a lot of businesses try to force blockchain into problems it does not solve. Blockchain is a poor fit when only one organization owns and manages the data. You don't need it. You just need a relationship database. You need high speed and low cost. Blockchain is not going to be for you. You don't have a cross-organization trust problem. You don't need a blockchain. If the data is highly private and doesn't need shared validation, there is no point of jumping on blockchain. And if governance cannot be agreed on, then you are never going to successfully launch a blockchain encryption inside your systems. If the real need is just reporting, analytics, dashboards, and integration across internal systems, then your tools are going to be your data warehouses, your lakehouses, your data oceans. You're going to use APIs and integration platforms, role-based access controls, and audit logs with strong security. So really, the truth here is many blockchain projects fail because the problem simply wasn't a blockchain problem. Now in analytics, blockchain and analytics really go pretty well together. And as a business analyst, you should really need to understand from a data analytics standpoint, blockchains matter in three ways. One is data provenance and integrity. Two is operational transparency. And three is new data sources and constraints. Data provenance and integrity is when blockchain can serve as a proof trail or useful for audits, compliance, and trust. That's a great place for blockchain and analytics to go hand in hand. On operational transparency, if we're doing shared records with reduced reconciliations and disputes, or if we're needing better upstream accuracy, the blockchain can improve downstream analytics. And underneath new data sources and constraints, blockchain data is event-based, time-stamped, and immutable. So if you're getting into new data sources and have some constraints, it's great for it. If you're going to analyze it like a log of events, not like a traditional relationship system, or it's also great for process analytics, things like fraud detection and compliance dashboards. But again, most analytic work happens off-chain inside the warehouse and inside BI tools. Blockchain is often the source of the truth trail, not the reporting engine of the truth. Now, the real-world risks are tricky, and things can go wrong. So this is what professionals get paid to anticipate. The first is your privacy risks. Public chains are transparent, they're open to the public. Even anonymous addresses can be linked to identities through patterns. And so storing sensitive info directly on a chain is often absolutely irreversible, and it can eventually become open and public. Governance risk, you have to understand who sets the rules, who can join the chain, what happens during disputes, and what happens if one partner cheats the chain. And then there's the security risk. Do we have smart contract bugs? Do we have a process for dealing with those? Do we have key management failures? What happens if we lost the keys, lost access? If all my data is encrypted into this blockchain and I lose my hash, I no longer have access to any of my data and can never get it back out. That's death for a lot of industries. And weak integration points, APIs and user accounts. Are the users actually going to use the blockchain correctly for its intended purposes, or is it too far above them? Those are some big security risks you're going to deal with if you're integrating blockchain technologies. And then there's the legal and ethical issues. Blockchain is immutable. That means it's an immutable record, can conflict with privacy laws. The right to be forgotten. The GRDA, whatever the European law is. If the state or government has a right to be forgotten law, and that information is inside the blockchain, you can't pull that information out because it's encrypted to the chain, and you will break the chain by modifying it. So it's immutable. It cannot be modified. And accountability is still human, not the system did it. So if one person enters it wrong and it's carried on, it's your fault. You're the person that's in control of it. All right, so for a practical takeaway here, I want you to take this as a professional takeaway. Blockchain is not magic. Blockchain is not the future of everything. Blockchain is a tool for a very specific class of problems. Shared data across multiple parties where trust is limited and auditability matters. If you walk into a workplace and someone says, we need blockchain, your response as an analyst should be, what trust problems are we solving? Who are the parties? Who controls governance? What data needs to be shared? What's the cost of being wrong? And what would a normal database solve this problem faster and or cheaper? That's how you think like a real professional. All right, guys, if you need anything else, let me know. Otherwise, that's blockchain from basics to basically intermediate, covering what it does. Have a very fruitful day. Bye, guys.